The word of God is life, you know. The word of God is life. And this is the paradigm that was set for us by God when he created the world. When we were created, we were not created in Adam's image. We were not created in Lucifer's image. We were created in God's image. Because we were created in God's image, our purpose then is to be like God. And we can only be like God by through living righteousness, which can only be attained by faith, because the ability is no longer naturally within us to live a life of righteousness, because we believe the lie, the seed of disobedience was planted in our mind. Therefore, naturally, we are negative. Naturally, we are not going to believe that we can get it done. Naturally, we believe that we are failures. Naturally, we get depressed. Naturally, we don't have the energy to do it. That's natural. So now I have to transcend the natural by tapping into the spiritual, which says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. And so Christ came to establish our spiritual man. So when we tap into that word, because word is life. So in other words, the life that Christ lived was by obedience to the word of God. And because he lived obedience to the word of God, his life is the personification of the word of God, and the word of God is the expression of his life. So when I believe in that word, what I am taking in is power, creative power, because words are creative power. This is why God spake the world into existence. And this is why the new covenant blessing is that God is going to write his law within our heart. That God is going to write his law within our mind, and we are not going to need anybody to teach us the word, because we're going to have it in our heart, in our mind. How do we get the word in our heart and in our mind? Because in the dark ages, souls died that I can get this Bible in printed form. This is the new covenant, you know. The new covenant is the fact that the Spirit of God can teach us personally and individually without leaving our houses, without having to go to synagogue and listen to the scrolls that the priest had. The new covenant promise is that the word of God is going to be in our possession personally, so that the Spirit of God can convict us to read it, and convict us of sin, righteousness, of judgment, and bring it to our remembrance, and that we will have the power every day to live it, because the word always must manifest in life. So if it was an equation, word always is going to equals life all the time. It must be manifested in the life, because the life is the expression of the word that you believe. So your life is the expression of the word that you believe up until this point. That can make us feel good, or that can make us feel terrible, because at the end of the day, we are accountable for our present reality. And my present reality is as a result of what I believe to be possible, and who I believe that I am, how I believe that God is going to be able to live within me. So if I worship my voice, or if I worship my feelings, or if I worship my sin, or if I worship my shortcomings more than I worship God, or if I talk about my failures more than I talk about God's potential of living in me, that means I'm worshiping failure and not worshiping God.